Chapter 71 Snatching. You are listening at MTnovel.audio. Facing the charging Blonsky, Dr. Banner's first thought was to turn around and run away. Then, he swallowed, shouted and rushed towards Blonsky. The next second, two huge bodies collided hard, a circular air wave roared out, and all the surrounding glass shattered. Immediately afterwards, Dr. Banner flew out and fell heavily to the ground. Blonsky was unyielding and jumped towards Dr. Banner with all his strength. Dr. Banner hurriedly rolled to avoid it, and Blonsky landed on the ground with a bang, making a big hole in the ground. Then, Blonsky kicked Dr. Banner away from the ground, and boom, a building collapsed by Dr. Banner. Dr. Banner versus Blonsky, crushing. General Ross and Nick Fury both looked confused. Is this Hulk a fake product? Is it so weak? The reason why Dr. Banner was defeated so miserably was not only because he was far inferior to Hulk, but also because he had no combat experience and did not understand combat skills. You know, Blonsky is the king of soldiers. This is different from Hulk, who has the best fighting instincts, and the more he fights, the stronger he becomes. Why are you so weak? Where did you go before? Blonsky was not happy about easily crushing Dr. Banner. Instead, he was filled with anger and shouted at Dr. Banner. I just need some time to find my groove. Dr. Banner walked out of the ruins and gave himself some encouragement. He still had advantages and was relatively durable. Looking for status? I'll help you find it. If you can't find it, just die for me. Blonsky rushed forward and beat Dr. Banner violently. Dr. Banner tried his best to resist. Although it was useless, at least it held Blonsky back. While the fight was going on outside, Natasha led the team into Dr. Stern's laboratory. As soon as they entered, they found two people putting Hulk's blood into the box. Stop, this blood belongs to S.H.I.E.L.D. Natasha immediately raised her gun and aimed it at each other. When the two heard the words, they turned their heads at the same time and looked at Natasha coldly. Of these two people, one of them was covered in black clothes. His appearance was unclear and he felt very bloated. The other had long hair, wore a mask, and his left arm was made of metal, giving people a very cold feeling. It's you. When Natasha saw the man with the metal arm, her expression changed and she immediately shot him. She had fought with him before, and although she managed to escape, she could never wear a bikini in the future. There was an obvious scar on her abdomen. The man with the metal arm, Bucky, the Winter Soldier, blocked the bullet with his metal arm. Then he threw a bottle of Hulk's blood at Natasha and others. Everyone was shocked and hurriedly evaded. Bucky took the opportunity to pull out the light gun from behind his waist. Submachine guns fired at the crowd. We must not let them take the Hulk's blood away. Natasha shouted, how much hatred can be created with so much blood here? The agents heard this and shot at Bucky. Bucky was not afraid and hid behind a cabinet and shot at the agents. You're in bad luck. The man in black smiled ferociously, tore open his outer clothes, and a set of simple exoskeleton armor and an arc reactor appeared in front of everyone. Immediately afterwards, the man in black pushed the cabinet hard, and the heavy cabinet immediately fell towards Natasha. Natasha hurriedly rolled to avoid the cabinet. Natasha was shocked. Stark's arc reactor, the military's exoskeleton armor. What is the origin of this guy? Exoskeleton armor is being studied by armies all over the world, which can greatly increase the combat capabilities of soldiers. However, it is limited by batteries and is not very practical. The emergence of the arc reactor has completely changed everything. Basically, Men in Black can be called a poor copycat version of Iron Man. Are you ready to suffer? Only through pain can you have order. The man in black stepped on the cabinet and rushed towards Natasha. Natasha raised her gun and shot at him, but it was blocked by the steel shell on his body. Then, the man in black kicked Natasha in the chest. Natasha seemed to be hit by a car. It hit, flew straight out, hit the wall and fell off. Why do I always encounter such powerful opponents? I'm just a pretty mortal with a good figure, okay? Natasha cursed and struggled to get up from the ground. Then, she grabbed a bottle of Hulk's blood and threw it at the man in black. The man in black's expression changed slightly and he hurriedly dodged. His exoskeleton armor did not work. It's not all-inclusive and there are many places that are not protected. When Natasha saw this, she threw away the gun, grabbed the bottle and kept smashing it on the man in black. On the one hand, she could block the enemy, and on the other hand, she could take the opportunity to destroy the Hulk's blood. Bucky wanted to come over to stop Natasha, but was blocked by the agents desperately. Bucky's eyes flashed with a cold light, using his metal arm as a shield to resist bullets, he rushed into the agents and started killing. Hydra also ran out. Seeing the situation in the laboratory, Andrew contacted Howard and asked, "Howard, your murderer has appeared. Are you interested in beating him up?" "Sergeant Barnes. Where is he?" Howard immediately shouted after hearing this. He not only wanted to seek revenge from Bucky, but also wanted to find the mastermind behind the scenes through Bucky. What happened back then was so mysterious that he vaguely felt that there was a big problem within S.H.I.E.L.D., Andrew said. "In the laboratory, you go." "Good." Howard nodded, asked Trask to take over from him to contain Abomination No. 4, and quickly flew towards the laboratory. Soon, Howard came to the laboratory. At this time, the agents had been slaughtered by Bucky, and the Black Widow was also in danger. When Howard saw this, he shouted, "Soldier, give me back my life." The three people present were confused. What is going on? The confusion returned to confusion and did not hinder Howard and the man in black. Bucky had a fight in the laboratory. Natasha saved her life and gasped for air in the corner. By the way, what happened to this world? There are monsters everywhere. At this moment, a huge explosion suddenly came from the direction of Queens. Even Manhattan felt violent shaking. Both the enemy and ourselves were a little shocked. What happened over there? Let's move forward a little bit to the Flushing Hammer Industrial Warehouse location. Cyclops flipped the switch on his glasses, and a red laser blasted towards the unmanned suit on the opposite side. A large high-temperature hole was blasted out of the unmanned suit's head on the spot. The remaining unmanned suits fired at Cyclops one after another. Colossus turned into steel and stood in front of Cyclops, and all the bullets fell to the ground with a clanking sound. At the same time, Storm was flying in the sky, using the strong wind as a shield while controlling lightning to blast at the unmanned suits. Jean did not lag behind, using her telekinesis to control the unmanned suit to resist micromissiles. For some reason, her telekinesis increased crazily during this period, and she could now easily do things that she could not do before. While the X-Men are dealing with the unmanned suit, Psylocke and the mercenary Wade are dealing with Iron Overlord, Spider-Man is dealing with War Machine, and Iron Man is dealing with Ivan the Whip. Iron Overlord's firepower is very fierce. Unfortunately, his opponents are Wade and Psylocke. One of them can't be killed no matter how hard they fight, while the other can easily cut through steel. If they cooperate with each other, even Iron Overlord can't do it quickly. Take them down. Chapter 72 Explosion. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. Rhodes was trapped in the War Machine and unable to control himself. The only thing he could do was to inform Spider-Man, "Be careful, the data shows that a missile is about to be launched." "Copy that, Mr. Rhodes." Spider-Man immediately stuck an iron cover with spider silk and swung it towards the incoming missile. With a bang, the missile exploded. Rhodes said with satisfaction, "Well done, boy, be careful, the machine gun is activated." As Spider-Man fires spider slime to jam War Machine's machine gun, he complains, "Why does it feel like cheating?" "Barbarian, the trap you set is so good, I lost 3 hairs." "Tony Stark, you are the filthiest and most disgusting bedbug I have ever seen." The battle between Iron Man and Ivan was very fierce. It refers to their swear words. The two were fighting and swearing at each other, from the grievances and curses of the previous generation to the hatred of this generation. Tony's poisonous tongue, Ivan's swear words, they are all master level. To be honest, Tony was a little depressed. Why should he understand Russian? If you don't understand, many words can be automatically filtered. Iron Overlord punched Wade away and shouted anxiously to Ivan through the internal communication, "Ivan, we can't go on like this. Iron Man has S.H.I.E.L.D. behind him, and time is on his side. Obadiah, fly up. Ivan snorted, gave up on his opponent and flew up. Iron Man was about to pursue him, but War Machine gave up on Spider-Man and hugged him again from behind. Tony cursed, again, that at the same time, the remaining unmanned suits raised their right fists one after another, and then, their fists separated from their bodies like cannonballs, and wrapped around Psylocke and the X-Men with chains. Be careful, there's something weird. Psylocke cut off the chain with a backhand knife and shouted to the others. Everyone did not dare to neglect and avoided the chains of the unmanned suit. However, Colossus, Wade, and Cyclops reacted a little slower and were entangled in the chains. Immediately afterwards, the war machines and the arc reactors on the chests of all unmanned suits lit up red at the same time, as if the bombs were counting down. Even those damaged unmanned suits were no exception. Tony's expression changed and he shouted hurriedly, "Be careful, those arc reactors will explode soon." While speaking, Tony broke free from the shackles of the war machine and let Jarvis use all his strength to crack the system of the war machine. Before, Tony put a small thing on the war machine, which was a small cracker. The war machine rushed towards Tony under the control of Ivan. Rhodes smiled bitterly and said, "Tony, don't worry about me, you can run away." Tony shouted, "What are you talking about? You haven't paid back the money you owe me, how can you die?" Rhodes rolled his eyes and said, "I think it's better to just die. Besides, what I owe is your bank's money, not your money. To be precise, it's called a loan. Did you tamper with the arc reactor?" Obadiah flew into the sky and asked Ivan in surprise, "Don't tell me that the arc reactor on Iron Overlord will also explode?" "Don't worry about details. Anyone who cares about details is a fool." Ivan fired at Tony in the sky and shouted, "The most important thing to do now is to prevent them from escaping." "Isn't it a fool who doesn't care about details?" Obadiah cursed. If he guessed correctly, the batch of arc reactors given to the organization also had problems, and Ivan was definitely a bastard. Despite the scolding, Obadiah did not get angry at this moment. He raised his gun and fired wildly at the X-Men. "Jean, you go first." Cyclops shouted while destroying the chains with lasers. Naturally, Jean would not abandon Cyclops, and used his telekinesis to throw away the remains of the unmanned suits on the ground. "Psylocke, help Colossus, I will take you out of here." Storm's eyes rolled white, the wind was strong around her, and even the bullets were deflected. "I don't need your help." Psylocke rushed over and cut off the chain in front of Colossus with a knife. Then, she threw the katana hard at the building in the distance. There was a purple light rope behind the katana. As the light rope shrank, she quickly flew into the sky. "So cool." Spider-Man praised, landed next to Wade, and shouted, "I will save you from leaving." Wade lay on the ground, posing in a rather sexual, disgusting pose, and said, "Brother who is wearing a couple's costume with me, you can leave by yourself and don't worry about me." Couple costume. Spider-Man's face was a little dark. He stepped forward to grab Wade and was about to take him away by force, but was kicked away by Wade. Then, Wade cursed, "Get out of here, I want to receive the pension from the Stark Group. Miss Pepper is so generous, even Iron Man is eating her soft rice." Iron Man's face is also a bit dark. "This is the worst time I have ever been blackmailed." Spider-Man, don't pay attention to Wade. He won't die. His self-healing ability is so unscientific that he won't die no matter what. Colossus shouted, and at the same time, he, Cyclops, and Jean flew into the sky surrounded by strong winds. "Let's go, I'm too popular to die, but you, be careful of being replaced." "Spider-Man is not the only one, my couple costume partner." Wade chuckled, and Spider-Man scratched his head, turned around, fired his webbing, and fled away. At this time, the system of the war machine was finally cracked by Iron Man. He controlled the war machine to disintegrate and pulled Rhodes into the sky. Ivan and Obadiah cursed and fled away. An unexpected bonus. Andrew smiled and pulled the staff in the warehouse and the surrounding people into the illusion. the location of the warehouse was relatively remote, and the number of people was not too large, only a few thousand. These people discovered the war there early on, and most of them chose to sign a contract. Andrew sent a group of robots over and fled quickly with the contractors. The next second, boom, boom. 30 unmanned suits and one war machine exploded at the same time, flames and black smoke rose into the sky, the whole world was shaking, and the warehouse of Hammer Industries was instantly razed to the ground. Buildings were also swept by the airwaves. Iron Man, X-Men and the others did not fly far enough and were all blown away by the air waves. Fortunately, no one died, at most they were injured. What, Wade? Of course he was not dead. When he flew up, he yawned in the air and thought about what gift to buy his wife. A bunch of tough bugs. Ivan scanned it and cursed it unhappily. He was about to continue to cause trouble for Iron Man when Obadiah stopped him and said, "Go to Manhattan. There are allies over there. We will deal with Iron Man there. Walk." Ivan hesitated, and flew quickly towards Manhattan with Obadiah. Tony placed Rhodes on the rooftop and chased after him with a few words, "Those two guys must die. Take me with you, you can't defeat the two of them by yourself." Psylocke wrapped Tony's feet with an energy rope and shouted. Tony was a little moved. At this moment, Psylocke added, "It doesn't matter if you die. The key is that it will affect my ability to receive money." Tony rolled his eyes and returned my excitement. It is worth mentioning that Psylocke's spiritual energy can protect her, so she is not afraid of the oncoming strong wind. Chapter 73 Reconciliation. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. Spider-Man and the X-Men did not catch up. On the one hand, they were not as fast as the suit. On the other hand, there were people around who needed help. The explosion just now affected some people, some who did not sign the contract. Among them, Colossus has a special mission, which is to collect the remaining parts of Wade and throw them into a sack to wait for his resurrection. Although Colossus looks tall and thick, he is actually a very careful man. In addition, he likes men. The explosion shook Queens and Manhattan, and a rumor quickly spread on the online platform. It was a long-range missile launched by the military. It was launched into Queens due to mispositioning. Many people believed this rumor, and some even swore that they saw missiles streaking across the sky, killing many people. People in Queens and Manhattan panicked and fled these two boroughs one after another. It's not that they were easily fooled, it was really that the American military was untrustworthy and they could do anything, in fact, let alone them. Even General Ross was a little skeptical that the military had launched the missile. With so many people fleeing together, traffic was naturally jammed, which made citizens increasingly anxious, fearing that military missiles would fall from the sky and kill them. Does this count as lying down and making money? Andrew laughed, and his consciousness covered two large areas, pulling the citizens full of fear and despair into a fantasy world, where the Black Widows sold the devil's safety insurance. It is worth mentioning that the previous rumor had nothing to do with Andrew. He has always only reported the truth. One-sided truth is also called the truth. He is a conscientious media person. No matter which country it is, there are always people who are afraid of chaos. The internet is indeed very convenient, but it also breeds a lot of problems. Is this Manhattan or a battlefield in the Middle East? Tony chased Ivan and Obadiah to Broadway Avenue. When he saw the situation below, he was suddenly shocked. The originally bustling neighborhood had been turned into ruins, with burning cars and collapsed buildings everywhere, as if the ground had been washed away by missiles. The destructive power of the five monsters was no less than that of missiles. Fortunately, with the help of robots, not too many people were killed or injured. Most people chose to sign soul contracts. It is worth mentioning that Spider-Woman Gwen and the masked Jessica Jones have already arrived here. They dare not fight against the abomination and save the injured soldiers and citizens on the side. Is this the hate the organization wants? Looking at the big green man below, Obadiah's eyes lit up. He thought for a moment and launched a missile at the old green goblin flying in the sky. Boom! The missile hit the old green goblin's aircraft and exploded. Norman was shocked and fell straight from the sky. Why did Obadiah attack the old green goblin? Because he wants to make this place more chaotic. The old green goblin is dressed in green and flying in the sky. If not him, who will he bomb? Upon seeing this, Tony immediately flew over to catch the old green goblin. Then, he threw the old green goblin on the rooftop and continued to chase Ivan and Obadiah. With his feet on the ground, Norman breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, he noticed that there was a camera below that was pointed at here, and his expression suddenly turned ugly. It seemed that the scene just now was broadcast. He, Norman Osborn, became the stepping stone for Iron Man. This made Norman very angry. He not only hated Obadiah, but also Iron Man. These two guys completely messed up his debut plan. At this time, a huge figure jumped from the downstairs to the rooftop with a bang, looking at Norman with a ferocious expression. It was the Abomination No. 3 who had been bombarded by him. "Green monster, your death has come." Abomination No. 3 rushed towards Norman with a bang. Norman's expression changed drastically, and he immediately turned around and ran away. Without the air superiority, he was no match for Abomination at all. Iron Man didn't know that much. While chasing Ivan and the two, he shouted to Nick Fury through the communicator, "That's it. Where is the guy who can fight the most and be the best?" Nick Fury replied, "Drinking tea on the rooftop." Iron Man was speechless. At this time, that guy was drinking tea on the rooftop. "Are you kidding me?" he shouted. "You just watch him drinking tea and doing nothing. It's not that I don't do anything, it's that I can't do anything." Nick Fury sighed. Whether he takes action or not depends entirely on his mood. Fortunately, he is in a good mood now. If it is about to collapse, he will most likely take action. The safety of New York depends on his mood. Iron Man was very dissatisfied, and his belief in becoming stronger was stronger than ever before. This guy was completely unreliable, and New York needed to be protected by him. At this time, Ivan and Obadiah stopped at Grayburn College, where Howard was fighting the Winter Soldier Bucky and the Man in Black, with Natasha assisting. Seeing Obadiah and the others arriving, the Man in Black breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly shouted, "Obadiah, help me stop this guy." "Good." Obadiah immediately fell down to block Howard's axe. Ivan shouted dissatisfied, "Obadiah, what do you mean? I want to kill Tony Stark, and I have no interest in helping you complete the task. Here you can get one-on-one with Tony Stark." Obadiah and Ivan explained, and then he shouted to the Man in Black, "Leave one person behind, and the other person leaves with the blood of the Hulk. Winter Soldier, you stay." The Man in Black didn't say anything nonsense, and immediately left the Winter Soldier behind, carrying the box and running away behind him. Black Widow immediately chased after him, and at the same time called other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to come over for support. At this time, Iron Man and Psylocke arrived. Psylocke jumped from the air, rolled and landed firmly on the ground, while Tony rushed towards Ivan angrily, and the two started fighting again. On the ground, Howard fought against Obadiah. He was extremely ruthless and merciless. He was a bald bastard. "I trust you so much, but you actually harmed my son. Do you want to be so cruel?" Obadiah cursed, avoided Howard's axe, turned around and punched the opponent hard. Although he didn't know what was going on with the opponent, he was an iron bully and was not afraid. At the same time, Psylocke and Bucky faced off. Both of them were top fighters. They fought against each other. The fight was so exciting that even Andrew couldn't help but nod. "Bucky shows up, Captain America should be here soon, right?" Andrew thought to himself. At this time, he received a call from the Black Widow, "Boss, the military has decided to bomb Broadway to eliminate the Abomination. In addition, the spaceship is also their target. The Black Widow Corps has an intelligence network that is not inferior to S.H.I.E.L.D. After Andrew took over the Black Widow Corps, he not only retained this intelligence network, but also increased investment in the American region. Whether it is the White House or the military, there are Black Widows. This time, Andrew contacted a Black Widow in advance and asked her to pay attention to the military's movements. Chapter 74 appearing. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. Attack my ship? Why am I not surprised at all? Andrew smiled contemptuously. Compared with S.H.I.E.L.D., the American military is more domineering. It attacks whoever it wants, treating itself as the boss of the earth. Spread the news that the military is going to bomb this place, and make a final harvest. This disaster should almost be over. Of course, before it ends, we must teach the military a lesson. Andrews sent an anonymous voice to the editor-in-chief Jameson, and then he ordered, "Trask, go back to the spacecraft and prepare your big toys." "That's not a big toy, that's my trump card." Trask was a little excited, and immediately gave up his hatred and flew towards the spaceship in the sky. Hatred number 4 roared on the ground, but there was nothing he could do about it. "I hate flying robots." Abomination number 4 cursed and rushed toward Frank. Frank was good at attacking but not defensively. He was surrounded by 2 abominations and was immediately in danger. When Barton, who was in charge of the overall situation, saw this, he quickly jumped to a nearby building to help Frank. "They can't stop those monsters. Fortunately, the fighter jets are coming soon." General Ross put down the communicator and said excitedly. Betty was shocked when she heard this and hurriedly shouted, "Bruce is still down there. Don't mention that useless piece of trash." General Ross cursed unhappily, thinking that Banner could deal with those monsters, but he turned out to be a funny character. Betty cried with tears in her eyes, "Dad, you can't do this." General Ross snorted and was too lazy to answer. He picked up the communicator and prepared to inform Norman that Iron Man and others should leave. Ordinary civilians and those street heroes are not important, but big capitalists like Norman and Tony, even General Ross would not dare to kill them easily. The United States is a capital society after all. At this moment, there was a loud bang, and a huge green figure covered with muscles landed from the sky on Broadway. The flames behind him made him look like a devil or a god. The visitor was none other than the reborn Hell Vanguard General Hulk. He clenched his fists and roared at Blonsky, who was beating Dr. Banner. The sound caused cracks in the surrounding glass. Hulk's roar alarmed everyone. When everyone saw Hulk, they were stunned at first, and then overjoyed. This angry look, mighty body, and violent momentum. After identification, this is the real Hulk, not the previous one. Counterfeit, Dr. Banner, who was beaten into a pig's head by Blonsky, was equally happy when he saw Hulk appear, and even wanted to cry a little. He had never missed Hulk so much. "You finally came." Blonsky was so excited that he threw Dr. Banner aside and rushed towards Hulk with a bang. Hulk rushed forward bravely, and soon, the 2 huge figures collided hard, and a circular air wave roared out. Different from the last time, this time, it was Blonsky who retreated. His strength was not comparable to Hulk. Hulk roared and punched Blonsky hard in the face. Blonsky flew backwards and fell to the ground, and several bloody teeth fell out of his mouth. This made Blonsky very angry. Just as he was about to get up, Hulk ran over and kicked him hard in the head. Blonsky hurriedly rolled to avoid it. Hulk saw this, grabbed Blonsky's neck and calves with both hands, and threw him out and hit the car next to him. Boom, the car was directly flattened. Hulk scolded disdainfully, "Weak chicken. I am the strongest." Blonsky roared angrily, got up and punched Hulk hard on the cheek. Hulk did not dodge, and hit the side of Blonsky's face with the same punch. With 2 booms, the 2 of them tilted their heads and flew out and fell to the ground. Then Hulk shook his head, got up from the ground and rushed towards Blonsky. Blonsky was knocked down by Hulk as soon as he got up. Then Hulk fired his bow from left to right and hit Blonsky's head with his fists one after another. Blonsky roared and threw Hulk away and kicked him hundreds of meters away. Just like that, the 2 big guys were going back and forth, fighting fiercely on the street. The surrounding cars and buildings quickly collapsed and shattered under their terrifying power. Generally speaking, Hulk has the advantage. He surpasses Blonsky in strength, defense, and self-healing ability. Blonsky can only rely on experience and skills to support himself. This is the real Hulk. Nick Fury, General Ross and others nodded. As for Dr. Banner, hey, let's not mention it. Why not use weapons but have to fight hand to hand? Andrews shook his head. It seemed that Hulk would have to be taught how to use weapons in the future. It would look good to punch to the flesh, but hitting him until dawn might not kill Blonsky, who could heal himself. Andrew stood up, ready to end everything. With the threat of the military, we have harvested another wave of souls, that's almost it. On the street, Jessica Jones, who was rescuing people, looked at the earth-shattering battle in the distance and sighed with some horror. It's too scary. I think if they keep fighting, they can tear down Manhattan. Don't, a lot of people will die that way. Gwen shook her head, she sighed and said, we are still too weak. I used to think that I was quite strong, but now I realize that I am just a frog in the well. Jessica sighed and said, that big green monster should be the strongest in New York, right? Definitely not. The strongest in New York is a kung fu master. Gwen said with some pride that that man was her boyfriend. By the way, why hasn't Andrew shown up yet? Jessica looked suspicious. Kung fu master. Real or fake? Of course it's a lie. The strongest man in New York is the Ghost Rider, the handsome and cool Ghost Rider. Sky's voice came from the communicator. She was a huge fan of Ghost Rider. Gwen was about to speak when she suddenly found that the battlefield had stopped. To be precise, the four abominations had stopped. They no longer fought Wolverine, no longer chased the old Green Goblin, and no longer besieged Frank. They all moved towards looking in the direction of Dr. Banner. They are not looking at Dr. Banner, they are looking at the handsome young man in a trench coat next to Dr. Banner. It is worth mentioning that after this figure appeared, Luo Shan's live broadcast was directly interrupted, and the audience in front of the TV could no longer see the live scene. Seeing Andrew, Dr. Banner couldn't help but backed away in fear. He vaguely remembered Hulk's beating. Andrew smiled and said, don't worry. You are a funny character now, I won't hit you. Dr. Banner was very dissatisfied. Funny character? I am a scientist, not a funny character. At this time, four abominations surrounded Andrew. They knew very well that this one was more powerful than the Hulk, and they needed to join forces to defeat each other. Andrew ignored the four abominations and asked Dr. Banner, I have a question. Dr. Banner, can you change back to your original appearance? Of course. Dr. Banner nodded first, and then asked in confusion, wait, how do you change back? In the past, when Hulk was around, Dr. Banner would return to normal as long as it returned to the depths of his consciousness, but now that Hulk is gone, Dr. Banner doesn't know how to change back. It seems there is no way to go back. Andrew patted Dr. Banner's shoulder sympathetically, you're probably going to break up with your girlfriend because the size doesn't match. Chapter 75 One Shot Solves the Problem. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. Dr. Banner became Spartan, and he shouted anxiously, there must be a way to change back, there must be a way. On the other side, Jessica looked at Andrew and asked curiously, who is that person? Why are the four big monsters surrounding him? Gwen said excitedly, because the four monsters are afraid of him. He is the kung fu master I mentioned. Only when the four monsters join forces can they dare to fight him. Real or fake? Jessica didn't believe it. She looked at it carefully and said, speaking of which, this guy is quite handsome. Sky also said, I think so too, it's in line with my aesthetics. Gwen said hurriedly, don't mess around, that's my boyfriend. Jessica and Sky were stunned for a moment, and then looked disdainful. No wonder they had been praising each other before, they turned out to be their boyfriends. Oh, this guy really knows how to pretend. Tony cursed unhappily, like people always repel each other, especially since he can't pretend to be the other person at all. Howard sneered, if someone has strength, it's not called pretending. If you don't have the strength, it's called pretending. Some people shine brilliantly just by standing there. Psylocke glanced at Tony and said with disdain, some people, even if they use a booster pad, even if they bring their own music when they appear, even if they keep talking, no one still cares about them. Tony glared at Psylocke, sister, do you know that your path is narrow? Also, I don't use heightening pads, they are called heightening boots, which is uneducated. It's stable now. Notify the military immediately and ask them not to bomb Broadway. The hate is over. Nick Fury is overjoyed. The Hulk arrives, only to make the situation a little better, and Andrew Wong arrives, declaring that this disaster is about to end. There is no way, Andrew Wong is so powerful. Since you are so eager to die, I will help you. By the way, I will lend you a gun. At this time, four abominations had surrounded him. Andrew raised his hand and sucked a rifle on the ground into his hand. Then, the rifle quickly deformed and looked like a roaring demon. Gun. Everyone was a little confused. What did King Andrew want to do? While that gun is cool, rifles can't kill abominations. In fact, neither rifles nor missiles can kill them. However, the abominations felt a pressure from the gun. They roared and pounced on Andrew from four directions at the same time like four of the most ferocious beasts. Andrew didn't say much. He raised the gun and flicked it. With a bang, a burning hellfire bullet roared out, drew an arc in the air and shot into the head of Hate number 2 from the side. Then, the hellfire bullet penetrated from the other side of the head of Abomination number 2, penetrating the heads of Abomination number 3, Abomination number 4, and Abomination number 5 in an arc. Finally, the hellfire bullet circled in the air and shot into Andrew's head. If I were to be shot to death, that would be a masterpiece. Andrew smiled and held the bullet between two fingers. At the same time, the four abominations fell down at the same time with expressions of disbelief. Their heads and souls had been burned by hellfire, which was unprecedented before. The reason for the blood flying out, everyone opened their mouths wide, as if they could swallow an egg. What the hell? Why can bullets turn? Also, what kind of bullet is so powerful that it can kill even an abomination instantly? That is hatred, hatred that makes everyone powerless. Also, how about you try some tricks? Are the haters shameless? Why do you need to use dozens of tricks to solve a problem that can be solved with one trick? I can make hundreds of millions of dollars in 1 second, okay? Andrew threw away the rifle. Seeing everyone's blank faces, he said seriously, times have changed. We must believe in science. Science, your sister. Everyone complained at the same time, your broken gun and broken bullets are not scientific at all, okay? A bunch of rotten wood. With a look of contempt on his face, Andrew turned and left. Everyone watched him leave. When he disappeared, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. It was time to run away, and it was time to continue fighting. After Andrew left, the live broadcast signal was restored again. Luo Shan, who was a little frightened by the strength of her boss, reacted and started reporting again. It's really too powerful. It's a pity that he doesn't obey the command. Nick Fury sighed, thinking of something, and said, bullet turns. I remember which killer organization this is, right? Hill, let someone investigate this killer organization. If they have nothing to do with Andrew Wong, recruit them and find out the secret of the bullets turning. If they don't accept the recruitment, destroy them directly. A certain killer organization, is this called being shot while lying down? Jessica complained to Gwen, Kung Fu Master. This is obviously a gun master, okay? It's so cool, I will prepare a rifle in the future. Gwen gritted her teeth, how many things does that bastard hide from me? Sky suddenly said, Gwen, he is not your boyfriend, right? You fell in love with him and were afraid that we would compete with you, so you deliberately said he was your boyfriend, right? Can it still be like this? Jessica was stunned for a moment, and then said with disdain, Gwen, it turns out you are also a bad girl. Gwen said I really want to hit someone right now, some bastard named Andrew Wong. The appearance of Andrew made Obadiah completely lose his will to fight. He shouted to Ivan, Ivan, let's go. If you don't leave, it will be too late. There is actually such a powerful person in this world. Ivan was also a little disinterested. He shouted to Tony, Tony Stark, the next time we meet, it will be your death. Tony snorted coldly, don't do it next time, solve it now, coward, don't you dare. Ivan missed Tony's provocative plan. He released a large number of smoke bombs around him and fled away with Obadiah. When the Winter Soldier saw this, he abandoned Psylocke and ran away from the sewers. Psylocke was just a mercenary, so naturally he had no interest in chasing him. Howard wanted to chase him, but the suit was not suitable for going into the sewers, and he had mysophobia. At this time, Tony stopped in front of Howard and shouted, "Who are you? If you don't explain clearly today, don't even think about leaving." "Don't even think about leaving?" That Howard was so angry that he slapped Tony on the head and cursed, "Are you active now? Your father has been killed for more than 10 years, why haven't you been so active? You spend all your time living and drinking, everywhere. Picking up girls, do you know how tragic your father's death was?" Tony, who was beaten, was originally angry, but Howard's words shocked him. He asked in disbelief, "My dad was killed? Didn't he die in a car accident?" "A car accident? A top SHIELD agent died in a car accident? Do you have any brains?" That Howard gave Tony 2 more blows on the head and cursed, "Your father was grabbed by the head and smashed to death, idiot. Yes, he is a top agent, there is no way he would die in a car accident." Tony's eyes turned red instantly, and he roared, "Who killed my dad? Tell me." Chapter 76 Special Device. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. Why are you shouting so loudly? Do you know that you are very unfilial? You are almost 40 and you don't have any children. So forget it. The problem is that you wear a shabby battle suit every day and go around trying to die. Howard kicked Tony to the ground and cursed loudly, "Do you know that if you die, the Stark family will be extinct? Howard wants to climb up and beat you down below." Tony was so confused by the scolding that he sat on the ground and shouted, "Whether the Stark family has any descendants is none of your business. Who the hell are you? When you find the person who killed your father, I will tell you who I am." Howard was so angry that he snorted coldly, activated his suit and flew towards the spaceship in the sky. Frank shook his head and followed him back to the spaceship. Tony wanted to chase him, but was stopped by Psylocke. "Mr. Stark, who is almost 40 and still can't give birth to a child, it's very dangerous up there. Please don't seek death." "It's not that I can't give birth, I just don't want to give birth," Tony shouted angrily. He recalled everything before and found that he was not angry at all when he was beaten by the other party, but instead felt warm. "Is it possible that I have any special hobbies?" Tony shuddered. He hurriedly called Nick Fury and shouted, "Cyclops, you must give me an explanation. How did my father die?" Putting aside Tony, who has special hobbies, the 4 hate death, and only the last one is left as an enemy, which is Blonsky, who is being beaten by the Hulk and flying around. However, Blonsky did not give up and fought with Hulk angrily. He is a true warrior and will never give up until the last moment. At this time, Wolverine, Dr. Banner, Barton and others gathered around, preparing to completely eliminate Blonsky and end this damn battle. That is the property of the military. You are not allowed to kill him. When General Ross saw this, he immediately shouted on the gunship. As soon as he finished shouting, he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Patton couldn't help complaining, "Are you planning to betray someone or make a mistake?" Hulk naturally ignored General Ross and beat Blonsky to death. Patton used the communicator to ask Nick Fury, "Director, what should we do?" Nick Fury said, "Don't kill the abomination, capture him. As for the rest, I will discuss it with the military." Good. Patton was about to take action. At this moment, 6 Raptor fighter jets flew towards this direction from a distance. Nick Fury was stunned. Didn't the military cancel the bombing? The military was not here to bomb Broadway. Their target was the Reverse Cross spacecraft in the sky. They loudly warned, "You have violated American airspace. Land immediately for inspection, otherwise we will launch an attack." Trask and others on the spacecraft all laughed, and Trask replied simply, "Get out." While shouting, Trask activated the magneto device installed on the spacecraft. This device is round in appearance and has similar functions to Magneto. It is a derivative technology of the Sentinel robot. After acquiring new technology from Trask Industries, Trask made rapid progress, and within a few years, he would be able to create a true Sentinel robot. Trask's answer made the military very dissatisfied, and a general ordered, bomb it down. After receiving the order, 6 Raptor fighter jets pressed the buttons at the same time, and 6 air-to-air missiles with long white tails shot towards the anti-cross spacecraft. Let you see what real technology is. Trask snorted coldly, and the ring device in front of him rotated rapidly, and a powerful magnetic force enveloped the 6 missiles. Immediately afterwards, 6 missiles drew a circle in the air and blasted towards the Raptor along the original path. The Raptor fighter jet hurriedly avoided, but could not avoid the air-to-air missile at all. The next second, 6 huge fireballs appeared in the sky. Everyone was stunned. Why did this scene look so familiar? Has this happened before? Magneto, Nick Fury, General Ross and others screamed, and Nick Fury immediately sent people to the isolated island prison to check whether Magneto had escaped. The island prison is a prison specially used by S.H.I.E.L.D. to detain felons and superpowered criminals. It is located under the sea. Magneto and the captured mutants are all imprisoned there. Magneto even has a private plastic glass box, located on the right side of the isolated island prison, connected by a plastic corridor and not inside the prison. The Peace Knights are peace-loving, but that doesn't mean the Peace Knights are easy to bully. Accompanied by this metallic sound, the spacecraft quickly took off, and soon it disappeared from satellite and radar monitoring. The military general yelled, but there was nothing he could do. The other party had Magneto's ability, and it would be useless even if he found him. This world is getting stranger and stranger. Barton shook his head, and Wolverine, Dr. Banner and others joined in the siege of Blonsky. Hulk was a little unhappy and kicked the car next to him away. A bunch of weaklings. Hulk cursed, turned around and ran away. He was not interested in besieging Blonsky with others. After all, the other party was just his defeated general. He, Hulk, wanted to save face. Everyone was dumbfounded and could only bite the bullet and continue to attack Blonsky. Barton glanced at Dr. Banner and couldn't help but sigh. Dr. Banner was very dissatisfied. What's that look in your eyes? Looking at the weaklings in your eyes, you obviously look the same. Why are your strengths so different? Wolverine said with disdain. One is a super macho guy and the other is a funny character. They are not on the same level at all. I'm not a funny character. In order to prove himself, Dr. Banner threw himself at Blonsky. The next second, he flew back faster than before and hit the ground with a bang. You are the funny character. Tony flies past Dr. Banner and joins the fight, while at the same time, the Quinjet that Nick Fury was talking about finally arrives to support. With the efforts of everyone, Blonsky was finally defeated and fell to the ground unconscious. The Rebellion of Abomination has officially ended, and the surrounding area has become a ruin, with flames and broken buildings everywhere. It is worth mentioning that in addition to Quinjet fighters, there were also 3 approaching TV station helicopters in the sky at this moment. At the same time, many reporters were filming outside the cordon, vying for first-hand information. Western reporters are always very fast. Blonsky is a member of our military and he belongs to us. General Ross stepped off the helicopter and shouted to the S.H.I.E.L.D. people. Nick Fury's sarcastic voice came from the speaker. General Ross, I think you should deal with the reporters and the military court first. Journalists and courts-martial. General Ross was stunned. Just as he was about to say something, a large number of reporters gathered around and asked General Ross, why did your military create such a terrifying monster? Did you get permission from Congress? Hatred has killed so many people. Should your military give an explanation to the public? Will your military be responsible for the losses here? Excuse me, apart from bringing disaster, what other role does the American military have? Chapter 77 Harvest, Follow-up. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. When General Ross heard these questions, his expression changed drastically. Why do they know so much and in detail? General Ross knew that he was finished. He threw up his head and spit out a mouthful of blood, and fell straight down. The reporters were startled at first, and then frantically took pictures of the fallen General Ross, with no intention of rescuing him. Hate was big news, and so was General Ross. Because there were too many reporters, Betty didn't notice what was going on over there. She ran to Dr. Banner and asked worriedly, Bruce, how are you doing now? Dr. Banner opened his mouth and said bitterly, Betty, I don't seem to be able to change back. Betty was dumbfounded. Could she still get married like this? After being reborn in hell, Demon King Andrew was in a good mood. He also earned tens of thousands of souls, and his work was not in vain. In addition, as before, a new world merged into this world. Obviously, his previous speculation was correct. The world merged. This matter is really related to a big event. Is it some kind of force of fate, deflection of fate or something like that? Andrew touched his chin, stood up and walked outside the hall. A big-headed man was standing at the door looking at everything in hell with surprise and longing in his eyes. Andrew looked at Dr. Stern, the big boss, and asked, You don't seem sad. Why are you sad? I feel super good right now. The big boss turned around and said, I was too stupid before to pursue those dirty fame and fortunes. There is only one thing worth pursuing in this world, and that is knowledge. The big boss said gratefully to Andrew, Master Demon King, thank you for bringing me to hell. This place is filled with countless wonderful new knowledge. I want to study them carefully. Knowledge? Andrew was a little surprised. Not only did the big boss's head become bigger, but his personality also changed. He asked, Have you gained any special abilities after the mutation? I have the psychic ability to control others, but the other persons must be weak. The big boss said, In addition, my intelligence has increased several times compared to before. This is my biggest gain. Lord Demon King, I can study everything you want to study for you. Andrew said, Very good, you go and study how to cure diseases, especially those that are incurable. The big boss said excitedly, No problem, I will not only cure all human diseases, but also make human beings immortal and evolve into another kind of life. Human immortality. Are you trying to bankrupt me? Andrew complained, and he said angrily, This is not allowed to be studied. The big boss was a little disappointed, and then said, It doesn't matter. There are a lot of things worth studying here anyway. This is not hell, this is my paradise. You study slowly, and I will build a laboratory for you. The more things you study, the more rewards I will give you. Andrew nodded. With the big boss's ability, he would definitely be able to bring him a lot of souls. Andrew can never have too much of a soul. The fighting on Broadway quickly spread across the country and even the world. People were very angry and continued to condemn the military. Some people even went to march outside the White House. President Ellis first stated that he was not aware of the military's research on hate. At the same time, he assured the public that the matter would be investigated thoroughly. There is no doubt that General Ross will be sent to a military court by the military. However, he will not have any major problems, let alone go to jail. He will only be left idle for a period of time. The reason is simple. The military needs a hardliner. In the future, they will even support General Ross to become Secretary of State to fight against increasingly powerful superheroes. Putting this aside, after negotiations, Blonsky finally fell into the hands of S.H.I.E.L.D., but the other 4 abominable corpses were taken away by the military. As for the Hulk's blood in the laboratory, a small part was taken away by the Men in Black, and the rest was completely destroyed. S.H.I.E.L.D. and the military directly removed the floor without wasting a drop. In addition, Natasha failed to catch up with the Man in Black and escaped. Nick Fury was very concerned about this matter and sent a large number of agents to hunt down the Man in Black, the man with the metal arm, Obadiah, and Ivan. Of course, we all know there's no way Nick Fury can catch these people. After several days of trying, Dr. Banner confirmed that he could not change back to his original appearance, which made him very frustrated. Finally, under the persuasion of S.H.I.E.L.D., he joined the Avengers team and became the new Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D. He will help Dr. Banner deal with the military, and at the same time set up a laboratory to help Dr. Banner recover as much as possible. Betty did not leave Dr. Banner, but their marriage was put on hold indefinitely. Norman Osborn barely became famous after this war, and the public knew that there was another superhero. Jameson, the editor-in-chief of the Daily Bugle, even gave him the title Green Goblin. However, Norman's reputation is not good. On the one hand, he is too ugly and too old. On the other hand, His unscrupulous attacks make the people very dissatisfied, coupled with the fact that the human enhancement potion basically failed. Osborne Group's stock price not only did not rise, but also fell again. Norman was so anxious that he put out fires in the boardroom every day. The board of directors has the right to remove Norman. Capital is always in charge in the United States. In this disaster, apart from the people and General Ross, there is another person who is unlucky, that is Justin Hammer. He was arrested for harboring wanted criminals, illegally manufacturing weapons, endangering national security and other serious crimes. What awaits him will be a long prison life. Justin Hammer feels innocent about this. The military took the lead in this matter, okay? Also, it was those two bastards who caused the trouble, and I didn't know anything. No matter what Hammer shouted, he could not change the fate of being taken advantage of. Andrew took advantage of the plummeting share price of Hammer Industries and announced the acquisition of Hammer Industries. Andrew didn't want to change his job to be an arms dealer, he just wanted the production line of Hammer Industries, which would be useful for rebirth in hell. After the acquisition is successful, Andrew will split up Hammer Industries, auction it off, and secretly transfer the production lines. According to estimates, Andrew will not only not lose money on this business, but will also make a profit. After all, Hammer Industries is valuable. Quite a few. On this day, Pepper returned to the Malibu villa. She saw Tony, who was operating in front of the holographic projection, and said angrily, "Young master, I have already bought the space station toy you want to buy. Susan is very powerful. For the money, it's a bit higher than expected. It doesn't matter. The Rebirth Group space station includes artificial gravity technology and space shuttle technology. No matter how much money you spend, it is worth it." Tony opened the holographic projection and said, "Moreover, Dr. Reed's experiment is very meaningful. If successful, it can cure hundreds of human diseases." Pepper asked, "I don't understand. It's just an experiment. Why should I buy the space station? Isn't it more cost-effective to rent it once?" Chapter 78 Preparation. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. When have I, Tony Stark, rented anything? Tony said arrogantly. I have other uses for the space station. Military satellites and space stations can better protect the world. It's about protecting the world again. Pepper shook her head. She found that Tony was becoming more and more responsible, completely different from before. Tony thought of something and asked, "By the way, have you seen that bastard Andrew Wong?" "I haven't seen him. Like someone else, he has been away from the company for a long time." Pepper sneered, and then said regretfully, "It's a pity. I originally wanted to ask him for an autograph." "Signature? You asked that kid for his signature?" Tony's nose was almost crooked with anger. "As my woman, you actually asked for autographs from other men. Iron Man, don't want to lose face, right? Can't you?" Pepper said, "He is handsome, can get angry, and can do kung fu. If I don't ask for his autograph, why don't I ask for it from you?" Tony said unconvinced, "I'm handsomer than him. Although I can't get angry, I can make a suit. As for kung fu, I'm practicing Wing Chun recently. Sooner or later, I will beat him. Your Wing Chun is not as good as mine." Pepper looked contemptuous. She walked up to Tony, pointed to the arc reactor on his chest, and said, "Tony, the steel fragments in your body have been taken away by Magneto. There is no need for you to wear this anymore, let alone when you're a superhero. Do you know how worried I am about you?" Tony was very moved and said, "Don't worry, I'll be fine. I'm not at ease, not at all, Tony. With Andrew Wong here, the world is very safe, so can't you just be a billionaire and a super scientist?" Pepper shouted, "Why do we have to go to the battlefield? How can any billionaire go to the front line every day?" "Yes, Andrew Wong, Norman Osborn, don't be angry, Pepper, I know what you mean, but Andrew Wong is unreliable. He does everything based on his mood." Tony said, "Give me a few more years, and when the Earth is completely peaceful, I will throw away the arc reactor to accompany you." "How many years?" "Tony, I'm worried you won't survive that day." Pepper shook his head in disappointment and said, I'm going to take a rest. You can keep an eye on the Cosmic Storm project by yourself. I'm too busy recently and have no time." After saying that, Pepper turned and walked towards the bedroom, and Tony sighed. Being a superhero is very dangerous, but someone must protect the Earth, and that person can only be him, Tony Stark. Although that guy is really strong, he has no sense of responsibility. He is not a superhero. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Let's find the enemy who killed his father first. Tony shook his head and reopened the holographic projection, which showed the car accident information provided by S.H.I.E.L.D. In fact, S.H.I.E.L.D. also suspected that there was something wrong with Howard's death, but they could not find any useful clues and had to give up in the end. The lack of clues may not mean that the murderer did it perfectly. It may also be that there is a problem within S.H.I.E.L.D. Otherwise, the murderer would not have known my father's route of action and would have ambushed him on the road to steal the serum. Tony analyzed it for a while and said to Jarvis, "Jarvis, invade the S.H.I.E.L.D. system. I want S.H.I.E.L.D.'s internal information." Jarvis said, "Yes, Mr. Stark. No matter who the murderer is, I will make him pay the price." Tony gritted his teeth and said that although he and Howard had a bad relationship, Howard was always his biological father, and he must avenge this. After Dr. Reed made a comeback, he took out a loan to invest in the Baxter building. He believed that one day he would be able to buy the building. In the office, Dr. Reed was adjusting the instruments. Seeing that he was a little distracted, Ben asked, "Did you dream about your future son again?" "Strictly speaking, he cannot be counted as my son for the time being. If I recover Susan, he will be my son. If I cannot recover him, he will become Andrew Wong's son." Dr. Reed said, "However, I really dreamed of him last night. He said that if there was no Andrew Wong, I would get back together with Susan because of the Cosmic Storm project. He told me to seize this opportunity. If it fails, Susan will belong to Andrew Wong through and through. Then you have to work hard." Ben said, "By the way, your son is so powerful and can even travel through time, why don't you give him more help?" I also asked him, and he said that there is a very powerful bald female in this era. He can't get through it, so he can only talk to me through the trajectory of fate. Dr. Reed said, "For him, I must seize this opportunity to get Susan back." "It's not for him, it's for Susan," Ben sneered. As Dr. Reed's best and only friend, he knew very well that Dr. Reed had never forgotten Susan. "How do you plan to pursue her? Do you want me to give you some advice? I am a man who is about to get married," Ben said, flashing his engagement ring as if to show off. "No need, Susan will get back together with me in the original timeline, it must be because of my talent." Dr. Reed said confidently, "In other words, my experiment will definitely succeed this time and I will become a great hero." "Real or fake?" Ben looked suspicious. He thought for a while and nodded, "It's not completely unreasonable. The reason why Susan fell in love with you in the first place was because of your talent. Otherwise, she would definitely choose Doom. After all, Doom looks better than you, are handsome and richer than you." The last half of the sentence can be omitted. Dr. Reed rolled his eyes and mustered up his energy to perfect the instrument. He wanted to use his talents to conquer Susan again, that is to say, Dr. Reed's son is not here, otherwise he will definitely bang his head against the wall. Neither of these two guys really understands women. It is better to expect a meteorite to fall from the sky and smash King Andrew back to hell. At noon, Andrew took Gwen shopping in Manhattan. Andrew looked at the blocked road ahead and shook his head. With the efficiency of the United States, it is estimated that it will take until next year to repair Broadway Avenue. It is very possible that the Statue of Liberty, which was demolished by Magneto last year, has not yet been rebuilt. What is even worse is that the budget has been spent. Gwen nodded. She thought of something and asked Andrew dissatisfied, "Aren't you a kung fu master? Why did you suddenly become a gun master?" Andrew looked straight at Gwen and asked, "How do you know about this? The TV station didn't broadcast it." Gwen's eyes suddenly flickered, and she said, "I heard what others said, don't change the subject, answer me quickly." Aren't you still changing the subject? Andrew smiled and said. Just as Gwen was about to say something, gunshots and vehicle collisions suddenly came from the distance. Both of them were stunned. What happened again? Andrew pulled Gwen back to the sidewalk and said, "Safety first, safety first." Gwen rolled her eyes. She couldn't think of any creature on Earth that could harm Andrew. Chapter 79 League of Assassins. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. At this time, several sports cars ignored traffic regulations and rushed towards this direction. They were chased by many cars. The two sides chased and fired at the same time, just like a Hollywood movie. The people were frightened and ran away from the vehicles. At the same time, they cursed in their hearts. Come on, can you be quiet for a few days? They seem to be from S.H.I.E.L.D. It's such a big scene. Andrew was a little surprised. At this time, a convertible red sports car passed in front of him. In the sports car sat a beautiful woman with a hot figure and a heroic appearance. Andrew was stunned when he saw this beauty. Younger Angelina. Andrew squinted his eyes. There is indeed a character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe played by Angelina, and she is a big shot, Tina of the Eternals. Isn't Tina suffering from eternal demon syndrome? Why are you racing here? At this time, a car chased behind the red sports car. The agent in the passenger seat stretched his body out of the window and shot at the woman in the sports car. The woman in the sports car didn't panic at all. She looked in the rearview mirror, controlled the steering wheel with one hand, and swung back a modified gun with the other hand. Bang, a bullet shot out quickly, turned around in the air and flew into the window of the car behind. The driver's head was shot through on the spot, and blood spattered everywhere. The driver died. The car lost control and hit a nearby vehicle. The agent who fired the shot was killed on the spot. It turns out it's not Tina, it's Firefox. Damn it. I just used arc ballistics. Why did the Assassins League really escape? Andrew suddenly realized that League of Assassins was a very good movie, and the bullet time and arc ballistics in it could often be seen in certain novels. Bullet turns. When Spider-Woman Gwen saw the rounded bullet, her eyes lit up and she asked Andrew, are those people who escaped related to you? Does it count that I've seen their movies? Andrew was a little embarrassed, and Gwen looked confused and couldn't understand what Andrew was talking about. Andrew said, they are members of the Assassin Brotherhood. The Assassin Brotherhood was founded 1,000 years ago when a weaver discovered a destiny loom, and the threads it weaved could form names through a special method. The mission of the Brotherhood is to kill the owner of the name, because those people will cause destruction to the world. To put it simply, they are a group of destiny assassins. Gwen was a little dumbfounded. Just because the name appears on the loom, you want to kill the other party? This is their belief: kill one person and save 1,000. Andrew shook his head. He was a little interested in the Destiny textile. He didn't know if it was genuine. In addition, the Assassin Brotherhood had a potion that could help people heal in a short time. He was also interested. Yelena, gather a team of Black Widows and go and snatch the loom of destiny from me. Andrew ordered to Yelena with his consciousness, where is the textile factory? Following the chase route and searching back using Google Maps, it was easy to find the location. Yelena didn't talk nonsense and immediately agreed, yes, boss. Andrew ordered, don't kill anyone. In addition, the Assassin Brotherhood has a recovery potion. Try to get it. Clear. Yelena nodded and summoned the Black Widows to take action. For them, who often destroyed demon believers, dealing with S.H.I.E.L.D. was like returning to the novice village. Kill one person to save 1,000. Human life is never a numbers game. Besides, who knows whether the prediction of the textile machine is accurate? Gwen obviously did not agree with the beliefs of the Assassin Brotherhood. Andrew did not say much. He said, everyone has their own ideas. Let's go. They have already left. There is no need for us to stay here. After Andrew left, the chase became more intense and even caused a big car accident. Police Chief George Stacy looked at the unscrupulous assassins and agents on the screen and couldn't help but cursed, "These two groups of guys are all bastards. Why is there so much going on in New York?" George sighed. It is worth mentioning that his current position is very stable. The reason is very simple. No one is willing to take over this hot potato. Director George secretly made up his mind. The New York Police Department needs its own power, extraordinary power. Putting aside Director George's thoughts for the moment, Sloan, the leader of the Assassin Brotherhood, a white-haired old black man, ran away while constantly cursing words starting with F. 1 second, they were eating prime steak, drinking expensive red wine, and thinking about how to spend money in the textile factory. The next second, S.H.I.E.L.D. rushed in and surrounded them, demanding that they surrender immediately. Naturally, the Assassin Brotherhood would not surrender. They chose to break out. Unfortunately, S.H.I.E.L.D. was too powerful. In the end, only a dozen of their members escaped, and the rest were either killed or captured. What's worse, the textile machine of destiny lost. Sloan used to be a loyal believer in the loom of destiny. However, when his name appeared on the loom, he chose to abandon his mission and become a real killer boss, accepting assassination missions on the black market and letting his assassins complete them. To be honest, this is a very good deal, because there is no need to pay his assassins, and Sloan keeps all the profits alone. Over the years, he has made a lot of money, and he often worries that one day the person will die and the money will not be there. Spend all the money. Unfortunately, all this has been completely broken today. Unless the loom of destiny is recovered, the good days of making money while lying down will be completely gone. Damn S.H.I.E.L.D., why did they suddenly come to us? Sloan gritted his teeth. At this moment, a Quinjet dropped from the front, and then, a six-barreled machine gun appeared from underneath it and aimed at the fleeing Brotherhood members. "Firefox, you're on the left and I'm on the right." Sloan's expression changed, and he hurriedly stood up and aimed his gun at the Quinjet. Firefox also made the same move. When the pilot on the Quinjet saw this scene, he couldn't help laughing and blew up the plane with his pistol. Do you think this was a movie? Sloan and Firefox didn't talk nonsense. They both turned on bullet time, and their hearts beat violently, reaching 400 beats per minute. The large amount of adrenaline made them extremely focused. In the eyes of Sloan and Firefox, everything around them became extremely slow, including the high-speed rotating turbine engine on the Quinjet. Then, the two men swung their guns at the same time, and the bullet passed through the fan blades of the turbine engine in an arc, hitting the most vulnerable part of the engine's core. Boom, boom, the two engines exploded at the same time. The Quinjet fell downwards with black smoke. The pilot was stunned. How could this be possible? A Quinjet fighter costing tens of millions of dollars was destroyed by two bullets. It's not so exaggerated to make a movie, okay? Because he was too shocked, the pilot failed to escape in time and turned into a ball of fire along with the Quinjet. The Assassin Brotherhood took the opportunity to continue to flee. The commander behind them, Level 8 Agent John Garrett, couldn't help but curse. The abilities of these guys are too terrifying, right? Chapter 80 Help. You are listening at MTnovel.audio. At this moment, heavy fog suddenly appeared on the street, and Sloan and others all disappeared in the fog. Garrett's expression changed slightly and he hurriedly asked everyone to stop. This was the ability of the mutant mist. Is the Brotherhood of Assassins related to the Brotherhood of Mutants? Garrett wasn't about to give up. He asked police and agents to cordon off the area while calling for backup. On the other side, the appearance of the mist startled Sloan and others. At this moment, a voice came out of the mist. We are the Brotherhood of Mutants. You follow the red light in front of you. We will not harm you. Sloan hesitated and said, Follow me. Everyone followed the red light and soon, they left the mist and came to an underground parking lot. Then, the mutant Misty with flowing hair and a mask came out from behind the pillar, pointed to the truck next to him and said, In the car. If you have some clothes, please change quickly and I will take you away. While Sloan was wary of his surroundings, he asked Misty, I don't remember that we have any relationship with mutants. What do you want to do? You will find out soon enough. Misty said. Sloane glanced at him, and went to the truck to change clothes with more than 10 escaped companions such as Firefox, Tinker, Butcher, Big Back Head, and Split Mouth. The assassins were stunned when they saw the clothes in the van. The clothes were hooded sweatshirts with the slogan, "Mutants must register," printed on them. Sloane asked in shock, "Are you sure you didn't get the wrong clothes?" "Don't worry, no." Misty smiled mysteriously. Sloane glanced at him, stopped talking nonsense, and changed clothes with everyone else, put on his hood and mask. "This way." Misty took everyone from the underground passage to the nearby shopping mall hall, where the recently popular Senator Kelly was calling on citizens to support the Mutant Registration Act. Sloane and others looked at each other. What is going on? Mutants turn against themselves. Although confused, Sloane and others did not leave. Under the leadership of Misty, they shouted the slogan "Mutants must register," which caused a burst of cheers from the surrounding people. Senator Kelly, after a while, a group of agents came here to check. When they saw Senator Kelly at the rally, they were stunned for a moment, and then went to look for targets elsewhere. Mutants and assassins can't hide here. Senator Kelly is a die-hard anti-mutant. Senator Kelly did not take the agents seriously. After the speech, he left with his staff and easily broke through the siege that Garrett had laid out so hard. Sloane and others breathed a sigh of relief. They looked at each other and prepared to escape from Senator Kelly. They did not want to be controlled by mutants, not to mention that these mutants were full of weirdness. At this moment, all the assassins felt weak at the same time. Their expressions changed. They struggled to stand up, but fell to the ground one after another and passed out. Miwu sneered beside him, "Want to leave? Have you asked our Brotherhood of Mutants?" At the same time, Garrett, who had been searching to no avail, received another bad news. The textile factory was broken into by unknown forces, and the mysterious textile machine and several important prisoners were taken away. Hateful! John Garrett yelled angrily. This time, he lost miserably. Reborn in hell. Andrew looked at the destiny loom in front of him and said in surprise, "It's actually the real thing? I didn't have much hope before." Yelena asked curiously, "Is this loom really related to fate?" "There is a mysterious wave on it, which means it is an extraordinary object." Andrew touched the loom and said, "Well done, Yelena." It is worth mentioning that the fluctuations on the destiny loom are very mysterious, and it will take even Andrew a while to study it clearly. Yelena said respectfully, "Serving boss is what we should do." "Don't worry, I will never forget your contribution." Andrew smiled and asked, "Have you got the potion that speeds up recovery?" Yelena nodded and said, "I got it." We also asked the prisoners about the training methods of bullet time and arc ballistics. However, they said that only a few people can master these two stunts. Copy the method to all the Black Widows and see who is the lucky one. Andrew said, "As for the formula of the recovery potion, leave it to the big boss and let him further upgrade the formula." Yelena nodded and left. "Yes, boss. The Assassin Brotherhood in this world is really unlucky. It was destroyed by S.H.I.E.L.D. before it even showed its power, and I don't know which god it offended." Andrew shook his head and thought to himself, "The loser actor probably won't have a chance to appear, but this may not be a bad thing for him." Senator Kelly's New York estate. Sloane and others woke up one after another and found themselves tied to a chair, with Senator Kelly standing in front of them. At the same time, 3 mutants, Toad, Big Steel Tooth, and Misty, stood beside them. "I know you have a lot of doubts, and I think this way you will understand." Senator Kelly smiled, and his body fluctuated, changing from an old man in a suit to a blue-skinned woman with scales, none other than Mystique Raven. "Mystique," Sloane exclaimed, "are you too brave to pretend to be a senator?" Senator Kelly, a die-hard anti-mutant, was replaced by Mystique a few months ago, which is why Misty and the others are following Senator Kelly. "More than just pretending, Senator Kelly has been killed by me." Mystique smiled disdainfully and said, "I have heard the name of the Assassin Brotherhood. You are quite capable. Unfortunately, you have offended S.H.I.E.L.D. We didn't mess with S.H.I.E.L.D. I still don't know why those damn lunatics came to our door." Sloane cursed with great frustration, and so did everyone else. It's true that if you just sit at home, disaster will come from the sky, Mystique asked. It's not important how you offended. What's important is, do you want to take back the loom of destiny and continue your mission? How do you know about the Destiny Machine? Sloane asked in shock. The Destiny Machine is the biggest secret of the Assassin Brotherhood. Outsiders have no idea. Even S.H.I.E.L.D. only found out about such a mysterious textile machine after breaking into the textile factory. What most people know about the Assassin Brotherhood is that bullets bend. It does not matter. Mystique said mysteriously that in fact, the information about the Assassin Brotherhood was asked by a mutant named Sleep in Sloane's dream. Sloane did not remember the situation in the dream. Yes, that's not important. What's important is that we must seize back the textile machine of destiny and continue our mission. Firefox shouted that she was the person in the Brotherhood who believed in the loom of destiny the most. Let's put it this way, if her name appeared on the loom, she would point the gun at her head immediately.